Michael Sheedy. Welcome to the podcast, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me, bro.
Dude, I'm pumped to have you here. So, for those that don't know, you're good friends with our buddy Vance, and it's been really cool spending some time this week or this past month, honestly, hanging out. And what's impressed me more than anything is your ability to balance. Like you, super dedicated and disciplined in this health space, but it doesn't control your life. It was something I admired from spending some time with you this week and then this past month.
Awesome, brother. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that recognition. I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you, was that one of those things for you that was like you had to kind of touch the two extremes to find balance in the middle?
Dude, great question. 100%, dude. I did 12 bodybuilding competitions in the last 10 years. I haven't competed in over 2 years now, but during that time, I went through the, I would say like the highs and lows of extreme discipline. Getting ready for a bodybuilding competition, like you're counting every morsel of food. You're counting, your water, your sodium intake, your, sleep discipline, is something that I'll always have, whether I'm competing or not. But it creates sometimes like a restrictive negative mindset revolving around your health habits. And that's something that I had to work through, like going through it myself and being like so restrictive that I said no to, a tequila drink, I was demonizing, every single sugar you could think of. What ended up happening was a negative feedback loop instead of a positive one. So what I've come to realize now as I continue to push forward in the health space and online fitness coaching space is I feel personally it's important to allow yourself to enjoy the moment, when you can with friends and family. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to still be in the top 1% if you want to with your fitness. And that's kind of what I try to touch on with a lot of the clients that I work with as well.
Yeah. I think the reason why I made a note of it is because I can totally relate to it in regards to the fact that like you honestly, I don't know if you would agree with this, but it almost seems like you need to touch those extremes to be able to have that moderation.
Yeah, dude. I agree, man. I think it's I've always said it's a double-edged sword, right? Like I'm never really satisfied with where I'm at, in my I would say goals or the things that I'm accomplishing, which is a good thing, but it pushes you to be extremely disciplined. But if you never reach that point, how could you say that you've done everything you can to be your best and then be able to back off a little bit and go, well, where's the enjoyment in between that,
It's such a hard conversation or such a hard thing to figure out, right? Because it's like for you and me both, we're like very type A people who
100%.
have these big goals and have these big ambitions and balancing that, striving towards the heaven or like those goals you want to create while also just enjoying the moment
Mm-hmm.
is it's an interesting balance, and that's why I want to start the conversation with it because I having spent some time with you, like I know you're killing it in the personal training space, and it's funny because personal training isn't something that's seen as a quote unquote a career that can make you wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that
Without a doubt, dude. Yeah.
a lot of people struggle to make this thing that is really, really profitable for them.
Mm-hmm.
What was the difference there between being that personal trainer at Gold's Gym making $8 to $10 every session versus the guy who's doing it online and is absolutely killing it because they're able to scale and do all these other things that allow you to make more money with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest difference, I would say is, mindset, not to keep it simple, but expanding my mind on what's possible, being around other people who are doing way more than me in the same field. I look at guys, and they're creating, multiple seven figures and working with thousands of clients. And when I first got into the space, I'm like, how is that even possible? But until I surrounded myself with those people, I wasn't able to expand my mind to what it took to get there. And it's sometimes, and most of the time, a lot more simple than you think it is. Just going through the progressions in my own personal journey in regards to my career and adapting as well, right? Like social media, you got to adapt. You know what I mean? You got to understand your market, you know, what you're working with, how you're getting, you know, your brand out to the people, how people are seeing you and perceiving you. And I think one thing that I've always really been consistent on is my personal brand. Like I've always been like, okay, cool, I got to build this. It doesn't matter how many hours I'm working. I got to build my personal brand. I got to build an audience who respect me. I got to build an audience that see the value in what I'm providing. And that's what's made me more successful. As I've made the progressions from going and making $8, literally $8 a session at Gold's Gym, which was the bare minimum, but now being able to work with hundreds of clients all across the United States and having a team work underneath me. You know, there's been a lot of learning in between that, but I would say the best way to learn is just to try, you know.
It's so crazy, the creator economy, like how it's opened up things and opened up things at scale, because like there isn't that big of a difference between, in terms of quality of coaching, between the personal trainer at Gold's Gym versus the guy who's training LeBron. You know, like that difference isn't as catastrophic as people would think. And like a lot of times, like you said, it just comes down to mindset.
Yeah, dude.
What you think's possible.
Expanding your mind, like, you know, just the people you surround yourself with. And once you see what's actually possible, there's a blueprint for everything you want to do, right? And a lot of the times it's not the best, you know, product or service that wins. It is the best, you know, marketing or branding, you know, that will win. And the top companies, you know, look at Calvin Klein. When they first made a splash, they were very edgy in the way that they were doing their marketing, right? They were the first to have people in underwear on billboards and people were criticizing them. Now look at the creator space, right? So, you know, I think it's important to have like ethics and morality, and besides in the product and in the service that you're providing. However, you could be the best, you could be the absolute best in your field in the world, whether you're, you know, a personal trainer, an online coach, whether, you know, you have an incredible product, but if you can't get it in front of your audience properly, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah, it's really coming down to marketing, branding.
Yep.
It's crazy. I mean, that skill is becoming more and more useful. What do you think the key lessons have been in terms of making that, really honing in on that branding and marketing stuff? What sticks out to you in terms of the biggest levers that helped you jump into that space?
You know, I think it's creating engaging content and entertaining content as well. You know, I think the biggest like lesson that I've learned, and it's not something, to be honest, that I've ever struggled with, because I feel like naturally like that creativity flows through me because I genuinely like have a passion for fitness and health. And I don't let my own, I would say, narcissistic tendencies get to me, when I feel like a lot of people do that, where they're like, well, I like this content, so other people should. Like, that's not necessarily true. There is a gap between authenticity and what you want, and understanding what your audience wants. And I think that is super important to look at. So, you know, I've always kind of had a tap on that, and I'm like, okay, what can get me a lot of engagement and provide value, but it's still authentic to me.
The authenticity part is so important. It's so easy to fall into the trap of the algorithm of just catering towards like what's hot or what people are doing. Like it's so tempting and seductive.
Or just boring content, because you think like, oh, I look good and I have abs, so let me post a shirtless picture every day. Like, that is doing, first of all, it's doing nothing for nobody. And when your audience sees the same content over and over and over again, they get bored. So you have to be engaging. You got to be creative, right? And I think that's like kind of the lessons that I've learned.
It's I liked what you said about creating for the audience versus like putting your ego aside on that.
Yeah.
I was watching The Killer of the Flower Moon. I think I butchered that name. It's Martin Scorsese's new movie.
Okay.
And it's 4 hours long. And there's just so many scenes in the movie that are pointless. And I watched it with my dad, and he was like, dude, like, people just fall in love with their own shit.
Yeah, dude.
And
it's a trap.
They almost like that ego becomes so infatuated or so blown up from all the success that it's like you become kind of self-absorbed in, you think that you start creating it more for your ego versus for other people.
It's I think it's hard for many people to look at it that way, you know. But you know, if you can see it from, you know, objectively from your audience's point of view, it helps with your creativity.
Totally. I mean, we've been having a few conversations off air about authenticity and kind of like exposing more of yourself and more of your personality out there. Like what you said about the Calvin Klein stuff, it's a interesting balance that we've been conversing through, because on one hand, you don't want to like so lean into your controversial self.
Right.
But on the other hand, that's where a lot of the like culty followers will come from.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting balance. I think it yeah, it comes back to like being true to yourself so that you can attract like-minded people, whether it's your friends or whether it's your clients or your audience. Because you can imagine if you were just doing things because it's the trendy thing to do, but it doesn't align with yourself, then you're going to feel out of alignment with the people that you're attracting.
Mm-hmm. So we're just actually talking about this, all three of us. Trevor, the guy helping us out here with production, talking about burnout.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how the authenticity in saying like what you're going through, because social media is such one of those places that is all people trying to put out their best version of themselves.
Facts.
Not understanding, but exposing yourself, exposing that aspect of yourself to other people, just helps you become so much more relatable.
Yeah. Dude, it takes a ton of pressure off yourself when you don't try to put this image of perfectionism. I think, you know, it's important that we all realize, like, at the end of the day, we still got to wake up and work regardless of how you feel. However, it's okay to have days, weeks, maybe even sometimes months when you don't feel 100% like you are, you know, at your best, you know, but realizing that also helps us to work through that. Because if you're constantly, you know, putting yourself down because you don't have as much energy as you normally do, or, you know, you're just not feeling as hyped up, that's going to perpetuate that cycle. But instead, if you can look at it as like, okay, this is something I need to go through to be able to understand that the good times are not going to always last and the bad times aren't either, you can remain more level-headed through the obstacles that you are presented as you pursue your goals.
Why do you think you were going through that burnout a few weeks ago?
You know, I think, you know, part of it was definitely losing a little bit of purpose. And I don't mean that in a way that's like I just became unhinged and like, you know, went wild in my actions, but more or less like, you know, getting too focused on the minute details without first understanding where that those actions were coming from, which is the why, right? Made me ultimately burn out in a way, you know, and some people might say, oh, you know, like burnout is, you know, something that shouldn't happen. Like it's what happens, you know, to people who are weak. You know, I don't agree. I think that anybody is subject to feeling, you know, at times, I would say unmotivated. But when that happens, you need to look at why that's happening. And that's what I did. I said, you know what? All right, why am I feeling this way? You know, it's because I lost sense of the reason why I was doing things. So yeah, taking a moment to, you know, put your ego aside and say, okay, cool. What is it that I really want? You know, is it just fast cars? Is it just supercars? Is it just, you know, a nice house? No, like the material goals aren't a strong enough purpose to push you to be motivated and purposeful in your actions, right? It is more or less the selfless goals that are going to be the most motivating and be the strongest driver of action, how you want to impact others. And I think if we can look at our daily actions as something that's not just for self, but for others, you will have like unlimited drive and motivation. Of course, you're going to be tired, but tired is a byproduct of work. Your burnout is a lack of purpose because you're doing things selfishly instead of selflessly.
Mm-hmm. So it's reconnecting back with that why.
100%, bro.
Yeah. So in that burnout, what you're feeling is a disconnection with what you're doing, or why you're doing what you're doing.
Why you originally started. Yeah. Okay. And I think that's, bro, I think it happens to a lot of people. People just don't talk about it. You know what I mean? It happens when you lose sense of purpose and then you start escaping. And part of me, bro, was escaping through working more. Right. So I was like, all right, I'm not feeling great. I'm not doing as much as I can. Let me do more without a reason why. Let me work 60 hours this week. Let me work on vacation. Like, I think it's good to have some responsibility even when, like, you're traveling. Like, I love actually, like, opening my laptop in another country or another city and, like, chilling and drinking coffee and working. But when you don't have that purpose behind it, that's when you start to get that burnout. So
I totally agree. Yeah, that working on vacation is kind of a nice feeling.
Dude, it's fun. I enjoy it, dude. In another location, cup of coffee, maybe a coffee shop, or on the beach. Yeah, it's a vibe.
The what you were saying the other day, lifting, when, like, making sure that, I think how we were talking about it was when you're on vacation, making sure your fitness is super dialed in, like getting to the gym every morning, because that diet is sliding a little bit.
Yeah.
That was a cool reframe in understanding that, like, it's all right if one of the things slides.
Right.
But when you get in trouble is when both of the things slide.
Exactly, bro. Yeah, man. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I work with a lot of guys specifically that travel for work. You know what I mean? They're in a weekend in Chicago, and then the next week they're in Amsterdam for a week, and then a month later they're in Hawaii for 3 days. One of my clients I helped, he lost 20 pounds of body fat with a not a very super low calorie diet. Like, we were eating right under maintenance, but with the strategies we used while he was traveling, he was able to still lose body fat while traveling. Over a 90-day period, he probably traveled 6 times. Part of that is the way that I've been able to learn myself through through traveling as well, which I only started doing in the last 3 years. Like, in the last 3 years, I started traveling. Before that, I barely did, only because I was working really hard to build the brand, and I felt like I didn't deserve it. Now I've realized how important it is to take that time to travel so that you can gain new perspectives, but also motivate yourself to get back to work, to be able to afford those experiences. So whenever I am traveling, man, I'm looking at it from a perspective of, how do I feel, when I'm at home, like, and I'm dialed in with my nutrition, I'm dialed in with my sleep, I'm not drinking alcohol often or frequently, and I'm working out. I feel great. Like, day to day, I have a ton of energy, bro. Like, I feel incredible. I'm articulate. I'm sharp. I'm not, moody for the most part, unless, I've been working a lot. And that's what I always relate to my clients. Like, when you go on vacation, like, say you go to a tropical destination for a week, okay? And you're used to working out 7 days a week, and you're used to eating a diet that's rich in antioxidant foods and whole nutrition, and you don't drink alcohol every day, which most people who are in good shape and are sharp mentally aren't drinking alcohol every day, because it's something in doses that can be detrimental to your mental health and also your physical body. And you go on vacation and you drink alcohol copiously every day. You eat foods that are, shit typically, and you stop working out. How do you think you're going to feel? You're going to feel ran down. You're probably maybe going to get sick. You're going to have zero energy, and you're going to have, you're going to feel like crap. So my thing is, I want to go on vacation. I want to feel great and enjoy the experience, but still be able to have a little bit of fun. So the thing that I use as the equalizer is, every morning on vacation, I'm getting up and I'm going to work out, and I actually enjoy it so much.
Yeah. It's a great way to start it. So that is the best tactic that you give your clients
Yeah,
in terms of
stay
that
active.
are traveling a lot,
Yeah.
just staying active?
Staying active, and honestly, one of the things that I utilize when traveling is intermittent fasting as well, as a calorie restriction method. If you're not able to find food that's going to align with your calorie deficit or nutrient dense foods, I'd rather eat less. I'd rather eat less frequently and then have like a big meal, that's maybe not have all the ingredients that I would like, so that I can stay in a calorie deficit easier.
I really like you've been doing these 24-hour fasts like once a week.
Yes, sir.
I love that for like a weight loss period because of that ability. There's 3,500 calories or whatever it may be that you're burning. That makes it so much more. It makes it so much easier the rest of the week to be in that deficit if you're thinking about the deficit as the week as a whole, not the day.
Yeah, dude. I love fasting. It's something that I've, anecdotally experimented with to see how it would affect my physique, and I've always had, very positive benefits, both, mentally and physically from the fast, like from doing the 24-hour fast. I've noticed my skin looks fresher. I don't have as many blemishes, and physique wise, and it's also made a difference because I'm able to be in a deficit throughout the week period without starving myself day to day because I'm doing that 24-hour fast.
And are you doing? Sorry to cut you off. Are you doing
no,
any like aminos during your fast or anything to mitigate muscle loss?
Dude, interestingly enough, I feel like catabolism is way overstated, and I think it's been perpetuated through supplement marketing.
Yeah,
like
that makes sense.
I truly believe that. I don't think aminos. I think aminos are the most overrated supplement you could possibly take.
BCAAs or EAAs or both?
Honestly, all of them, bro. I honestly, because think about this. Even if you're intermittent fasting, if you're eating protein, 0.8, let's say 0.8 grams per pound of body weight on a daily basis, your body stores amino acids in your liver. It takes an extended period of time for your body to get rid of those amino acids in your liver and then start eating muscle tissue. I think it's overstated personally. So no, I don't drink aminos because I eat enough protein. But I will do electrolytes for hydration, mental clarity as well. Your brain is full of water, and if you're fasting, you're more likely to get dehydrated easier because you don't have carbohydrates which help to transport water to your intracellular tissue. So electrolytes are super important when you're fasting. As long as you're not going over 25 calories per day, you're going to be able to stay while you're in the fast. You're able to stay in the in that zone. And you're burning through a lot of that stored glycogen as well. So, just electrolytes, water. I'll do coffee. I love black coffee with nothing in it. Something I actually enjoy. It gets me through it.
Do you find, like, I think the only thing that makes me hesitate sometimes to do extended fasts is the anxiety from drinking caffeine and being fasted all day. Do you ever get that?
Dude, I rarely, to be honest with you, I rarely get anxiety.
Yeah.
I don't really, that anxiety is like, I've had it a few times, but I don't really get it often. Like,
I drink too many of these nitro cold brews. That's the issue, dude.
Bro, I can't do nitro. That's the thing. I do regular cold brew.
Yeah, smart.
So now that you say that, nitro does jack me up. But I don't get anxious. I get like shortness of breath and you know what I mean? Like a little shaky, like, oh, this is like I have like a head rush. But cold brew keeps me energized but mellow.
So with the clients that you work with, I'm sure there's a lot of commonalities that are the biggest levers that allow people to have success, like that 80-20 stuff. Like, what are those activities you've seen with your clients, or the things you've seen with your clients that have gotten them 80% of the success? Does that make sense to you? Or the things that have really allowed your clients to have success, the biggest movers?
I think it's the ability to understand that what we're doing in our habits daily, again, is purposeful action, right? If anybody can say they want to have a six pack, and then anybody can start doing cardio and eating healthy, but you're not going to be able to sustain those actions if you don't do it for a reason outside of yourself. I truly believe that. Like, I think the most selfish thing is when you are putting action towards something and not getting results, because that means that you're doing it, but you're not doing it as you should, right? So it's much easier to follow a plan when you have a reason to do it, when you have a purpose to do it, right? On the outside, it looks sexy, like, you know, a fit body, a big bank account, a nice car, a nice house. That's sexy, but unless you are, you know, silver spoon fed, but the physique is something you can't have without great genetics, which is like 1% of the population. DJ Metcalf, right? To me, it shows that you've been able to do work when you don't want to do work, and that's the unsexy work that people have to compartmentalize and to understand that purpose when you're looking at it like, man, this cardio sucks. Okay, but how many people look up to you? How many people are you going to inspire from being in incredible shape and saying no to the things that are vices that perpetuate depression and anxiety, right? Drugs, entertainment, porn, too much alcohol, right? Those are the things you have to say no to. And, you know, both are hard. Like, is it easy, doing, cardio sometimes, or is it easy training hard? Is it easy, eating super nutrient dense foods? No, but it becomes something that is habitual over time. And then from there, it does become easier, but both choices that you choose are going to be hard, one way or another. So I think the clients that can connect, the people that I've worked with that can connect their goals to a purpose, for me, selfless purpose, those are the people that have long-term success.
It's crazy how much of a spiritual pursuit it is.
Dude, it's so crazy you said that. In my mind just now, it's like, it's spiritual. It's super spiritual, dude.
I don't think I ever realized that I did a super strict elimination style diet to clear up some skin issues a few years back. And the diet was so strict, and it made me realize that it's like you derive so much of your pleasure and your thought process of like what you're going to eat today, all this stuff, from food. And it takes a spiritual maturity to be able to discipline yourself in order to not indulge in those things. And like, as you're saying this, it makes me realize like that's probably why all of these religions talk about fasting.
Bro, fasting is, it's like Discipline is Destiny, a book I recently read by Ryan Holiday. Like, it talks about one of these guys who was a king, right, in like Greek and Roman times, and I don't remember his exact name, to be honest with you. It was a story that they told, but he had lavish lifestyle. He could eat anytime he want. He could sleep in the nicest beds and basically be cush. But he understood how important it was to have perspective. So he would purposely go spend a night with the poorest people in that region and sleep on the ground once a week to be able to really enjoy his lifestyle, because it's not the lifestyle that's going to make you happy. It's your perspective and who you are inside that makes you happy. And that's the spiritual journey of fitness, health, and business. The $1 million isn't going to make you happy.
So true, dude. So true. I've been traveling a lot recently, and it's like, everyone's like, how's Austin? How's Vegas? I'm like, dude, everywhere you go, there you are. Like, it's not like these places are that different or change anything internally in terms of your state or your happiness.
Super
it's like,
true.
It's all just going to come down to like how you are as a person, and getting really in tune with that is everything.
Yeah. And that's like, the fast isn't a restricting. It's not for me, I'm not restricting myself. It's not a negative feedback loop. For me, it's proving to myself that I have the discipline to say no. And then backing that up, because now I have the confidence internally, right? Confidence isn't an external thing. Confidence comes from internal actions connected to a purpose.
That perspective shift is so important. Taking it from that negative perspective to being a positive is
100%, bro.
Changes the game.
Yeah.
It allows you to just be so much more it allows that discipline to become so much more effortless.
Dude, it makes it, honestly, it makes it easy. You know, it makes it easy because you're like, okay, this is going to have a direct correlation between the person that I am in conversation and relationships, right?
Yes.
Like it's super powerful.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, like, to bring it back to this skin thing, like when I was in the process of like clearing out the skin issue, and like my family at the time was like, how the fuck are you doing this? Like, you're so disciplined with it, whatever. And it was like, it's not discipline at all if every time I eat like shit, my body reacts negatively. It's like it changing that perspective from you are restricting yourself to you are nourishing yourself.
Yeah.
It just allows you to be so much more satisfied.
100%, bro. Yeah, 100%.
It's a hard thing with the physique stuff though, because
It is.
that is an interesting game. And like I just interviewed this guy Rob Lipset, and in research for the episode, I was like looking at a few of his YouTube videos, and he had a lot of stuff on his own, like eating disorder and body dysmorphia stuff. And he's like a killer bodybuilder, and I just think that it is so common. It's so hard to be satisfied with how you look.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, dude, not to like take it away from what you just said, but I think it comes down to like purpose, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything makes a lot more sense, and it's very easy to be decisive when you know what you want.
I mean, that's a great point, because if you think about it in that way of why are you doing this? Like, why are you trying to get as jacked as possible?
Are you doing it for other people?
Are you doing it for trying to get girls? Or are you doing it for your longevity, your
100%.
health, your mental clarity, the way you feel, the way you move through life? That understanding your why behind things, man.
I'm telling you, everything gets clear. I had a guy come up to me at a coffee shop. I like to work at coffee shops, and he's somebody who I've been an acquaintance with, and he was like, hey man, like, what do you think about this? Like, why am I struggling with this thought? I'm like, because you don't know what you want to do. Like, you could ask me anything. Why am I struggling with this? Because you don't have clarity. If you have clarity, it's easy to make a decision, right? It's easy to not have a bad relationship with food when you have clarity, you know, in why you're doing it. If you don't have clarity, if you're like, I'm just doing it because I want to be jacked, okay, it's not a good goal, you know?
So much mindless action, and I feel like it's getting peripheраted by our culture of being like such consumers of everything.
Yeah.
And like with these phones, with consuming with consuming 24/7, you almost never give give yourself that time to reflect
100%.
and be like, this is why I'm doing the things that I do. And I was going to ask you, like, how do you carve out those whys? But I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to allowing yourself to reflect a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's like important too, is like, discipline isn't just getting to the gym, you know, getting a crazy workout in and you know, eating healthy. Discipline is also going, okay, I need to take 30 minutes in the morning to reflect on why I'm doing the things I'm doing, or, you know, 30 minutes to be present outside of your phone. Like, how many people can say they truly set their phone down for an hour on purpose every day? When's the last time, you know, not you, but most people have ate a meal without being on their phone, or ate a meal without looking at the TV when they're at home?
And a meal is some sort of stimulation as well. Like, when you take away that meal as well, and you just, I think one of the best concepts I've gotten from the podcast is from this guy, Ego Drive, who's a online writer. And he was like, you don't need to meditate. You don't need to do any of these like practices where you're just closing your eyes, breathing in and out, bored in a room. You just need to give yourself 1 hour of me time a day. Yeah. And I think that reframe of just reflecting on what's going on, it just provides everything that you need to allow yourself to be disciplined and allow yourself to start to have the clarity in the things that you want to want.
Yeah. It's reducing developed traffic and dopamine regulation by not constantly needing something to stimulate you.
Totally. And so with this conversation, it's interesting for me because I'm about to start a cut. I want to cut a bit, and you know, there's the spiritual aspect of it, and then there's the physical, and the tactics and strategies you can use to make that easier on yourself. Do you have any advice for me or anyone who's looking to shed a few pounds and lean out a bit? Is there any advice or things that have worked for you to make that process easier?
Like actual
Interpret the question in any way you want to.
Okay, awesome, bro. You know, I honestly, perspectively, knowing that it's not the goal that you need it's important to have the goal, but what is going to help you accomplish that is the person that it takes to accomplish that goal.
Mm-hmm.
You need to look at, I could give you right now, I could tell you, bro, you got to do 40 minutes of cardio a day. You got to right now drink no alcohol for the next 30 days. I also need you to, do resistance training, really heavy, or very intense with time under tension, and get 8 hours of sleep. Now, if you've been out of those habits for a long time, it's going to be hard to implement that day one.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be tough. However, if you first create the perspective of the person that needs to accomplish that, it gets easier.
Yeah, starting to realize who that person that's able to accomplish that things is within yourself.
It's a perspective. So I would say the biggest thing is shifting your perspective as you start a journey to be able to have the habits to accomplish that physically. Same thing in business. To have a business that produces multiple 7 figures, it takes, if you're not there yet, it's because you're not the person that you need to be yet to attract and attain that level of success. If you're not where you're at in your physique goals, it's because you're not the person you need to be yet. You don't have the habits yet to be able to obtain that goal. So it's not the eating healthy. It's not the cardio. It's not the, not going out and drinking heavily. It's the person and habits to back that up. So I think, bro, that'll help you to make every decision you need to make. And I don't even need to tell you anything else.
Yeah, that's my favorite concept, is understanding the, everything being the same. That the gym is the perfect metaphor for life, and life is the perfect metaphor for the gym. And there's so many different realizations when you start to do hard things. You start to realize that any hard thing kind of follows the same path. And there's so many mental commonalities between all these things.
Yeah. Bro, I'm telling you, it's beyond easy to make decisions when you know exactly it is what you want and who you need to be to accomplish that. Like, everybody's confused about what they should be doing in relationships and all these things. You're straight up indecisive. You just don't know what you want. Yeah. And you're letting other people make that decision for you. So if it makes sense for you to be in a calorie deficit and to get into incredible shape to inspire others, you're not going to question whether or not you should have alcohol 4 times a week.
Yeah, it really does make it easier when you have that strong why.
Like, oh, how many calories is in this? Why are you even drinking it? It shouldn't fucking matter.
Yeah. It's funny. It's a concept that is very true in marketing as well. That guy, Simon Sinek, he wrote this book called Start With Why, from a marketing perspective of looking at a couple, the company like Apple, I think was the example in the book, where all of their marketing is targeted at the why they do what they do, why you should want their stuff. Same with Nike as well. It's like find your greatness. I don't know if you remember that campaign.
Yeah.
All these little marketing tactics, they're not trying to sell you on Nike being the best thing in the world. They're trying to sell you on the why you want Nike.
I love it. Yeah.
It's that same principle.
Yeah.
And so if with the cut stuff, if you were going to, you said 40 minutes of cardio, you listed a few different things.
Those are just examples.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why
I wanted to bring it back up, because if you were to write a program for me or somebody like me trying to do something like that, just very high level, quick, what would some of those things be in terms of recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, I think more of it would come down to being more active and eating less. If you're looking to, and that's like super simple, right? A lot of people overeat, bro, and they overeat at bad times, right? So a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll undereat during the day, and then at night they, are giving in to cravings. So part of that is eating nutrient-dense foods. One of my main principles that I've used to be able to maintain the physique I have is called volume eating, right? So filling your body with foods that are high in nutrients and low in calories. throughout the day,
A
right?
lot of vegetables, a lot of fibrous foods, a lot of protein.
Correct. Yeah. High protein, low to moderate carb, depending on what body fat percentage you're at. If you're at a high body fat percentage, you want to go lower carb because you probably have insulin resistance. But if you're already at 15%, body fat, 15 to 20% body fat, you can afford to be at moderate carbs if you're doing resistance training. And then keeping your activity level high. If you work from home, you're going to have to make sure that you are getting in enough steps to be able to support a caloric deficit, because it's not just eating less, it's also moving more. So a lot of my clients will tell them, hey, 8 to 10,000 steps a day. I'm not really big on like actual cardio, like you don't need to do an hour of cardio a day. And a lot of people make that mistake. They start running. Like one of the biggest things that I'm a proponent of is for body composition change and long-term metabolic health is not running. I think running is one of the worst things metabolically you can do for your body, because it pares down muscle tissue and reduces your basal metabolic rate.
That's something that blows people's minds. That running is
it's wild.
Awful, dude. I ran a half marathon. I didn't train for it. I just wanted to like kind of test the mental acuity.
Sick, dude. I love
and
that.
then I was there, and I'm halfway through this race, and I'm getting smoked by all these fat people running by me. And the whole time I'm thinking is like, no one here is in shape. Every single person was overweight or incredibly skinny and looking awful. Mm-hmm. There was no one with not one. There was like maybe 2 people in the entire race that had a physique that you would consider like aesthetic or something that seems very healthy. Mm-hmm. Everyone was either overweight or incredibly skinny. Mm-hmm. And that runner build, dude, it is chronic inflammation, all the stuff that you described. It's like, that is not the way to get healthy or to lose weight.
It's not long-term strategy. It's not good. I started running at one point because I was training for my second amateur boxing match, and I started running a lot, and I lost 10 pounds of lean tissue. And it's like, damn. If you're training for
how long was that? Sorry to cut you off.
The 10 pounds?
Yeah. How long did it take for that to happen?
Honestly, dude, of lean tissue. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not joking you, like 4 to 6 weeks.
And that is you when you're getting adequate protein. That's you.
Bro, I was eating.
Someone dialed.
I was dialed.
Yeah. Dude, imagine all those people who are not even getting close to enough protein and also doing that stuff.
Yeah.
It's awful.
It's challenging. And so then you want to, this is what I tell my clients. You want to eat and train for how you want to look and how you want to feel. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be a boxer, if you want to be a cyclist, if you want to be a triathlon athlete, do endurance activities. That's totally fine. But don't expect to have, great long-term metabolic health.
Sprinting and walking?
Love sprinting, love low intensity, steady state cardio. I do uphill sprints, better for the knees. And I do a lot of list cardio as well, because it helps you to not overtax your body, because running reduces your recovery tremendously from resistance training. So low intensity, steady state cardio is not very high in impact or stressful on the central nervous system. So you're able to maintain that and use that as a tool to stimulate insulin sensitivity and also be in a bigger caloric deficit.
And if you don't believe us, look at the physique of a sprinter.
Bro, 100%.
They're jacked.
Dude, anytime I've incorporated sprints into my routine, like I notice a change in my body composition, fuller muscles, because it's really acting on helping your body to store more glycogen inside the muscles and reduce a lot of that stored fat as well.
Have you heard of this like muscle-centric approach to longevity? Have you heard any stuff like Dr. Gabrielle Lyon? She's this doctor who she just released a book, so she was going on a bunch of podcasts recently, so just kind of discovered her as of recent. But her whole hypothesis or thing that she tries to stress is that if you look at what causes disease, it's insulin resistance. Bro. At the core of most things, it's insulin resistance. And if you look at the things that prevent disease or allow the body to be resilient enough to overcome disease, it's insulin sensitivity and muscle mass. Mm-hmm. So if someone gets cancer, one of the biggest things that kills them isn't the cancer itself. Mm-hmm. It's the body not having enough vitality or muscle or weight to keep going. And then if you look at like heart disease and all these things, it's rooted in insulin resistance. And what's the best thing for insulin resistance? weightlifting, resistance training, sprinting,
Mhm.
like all these things at the end of the day is like, they're probably the best things you'd be doing for longevity.
For longevity, 100%. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's interesting. I think there's both a correlation and causation behind the amount of lean muscle tissue someone has and their longevity, right? Because I think it's what lifestyle does it take to be able to have lean tissue? You got to get good sleep. You're not going to be doing drugs. You're not going to be drinking alcohol. You're going to be eating typically a high protein diet, which is incredible for your metabolism. So that's going to help protect you long term. So I think that's the correlation. And then the causation would be resistance training being the best form of exercise you could possibly do, because it also helps with, increasing bone density, which a lot of people, they end up being sedentary because of not being active, which is also causing them to have like osteoporosis, brittle bones. You break your hip, you can't walk.
That's when people quickly deteriorate.
Correct.
Like older people,
it's
they
lack
get
of
an injury and then they're they're struggling.
Lack of activity, right? So
totally. So with that said, what's your split right now? What are you doing? How often are you training? What type of kind of style of are you doing? Higher volume stuff, lower volume, higher rep range, lower rep range? What's that kind of looking like for you?
So I always incorporate time under tension as a modality for my workouts. It is the superior modality for hypertrophy. Going through your workout routine and using negatives to be able to put tension on the muscle. And that's kind of the modality that I've used for, I would say, bro, the last like 5 or 6 years. And it's really helped me to maintain a fuller looking physique and a harder looking muscles as well. So fully transparent, bro, like I am super intuitive with what I train. Like,
but you can be that. Like,
I've got to that point.
That's not something like you could recommend to people, but like,
that's facts. Yeah.
For you, like that's incredible.
Yeah. When someone's first starting out,
you know what the fuck you're doing.
Correct. When someone's first starting out, they need to have structure. They need to have a system. And that's what I had, dude. I had a personal trainer when I was 20 years old. I had another nutrition coach that I've been working with for 8 years, and they provided me with a system and structure to help me to get to where I'm at. But now that I've been training for so long, I can basically walk in the gym and go, what's not sore today? All right, I'm going to absolutely, crush that muscle. And then, but one thing I've been doing more of lately, honestly, is targeting my abs,
interesting.
Like specifically. So a lot of the times, dude, when I would train in the past, I would just use like exercises that used core in them often, right? To be able to like work my core muscles, like let's say farmer carries, for example, or sled pushes or sprints or barbell squats. Like you're working your core tremendously doing those. But, and I've usually relied on low body fat percentages to expose my, my core and like look shredded. Because a lot of times if you don't have abs, nobody's going to think you're shredded. So like you need a six pack to be able to show off your physique. Right. So one thing I've been really doing recently is purposely targeting my core, just as I would like my biceps, to be able to, make them look more pronounced as I'm at a low body fat percentage.
And has been working pretty well,
dude. Yeah. Because, I'm not as, I'm lean right now, but I'm not as lean as I, could be or been in the past, but my abs look more defined because I've been training them more specifically. And I have all my clients I work with, I have them hit abs, targeting them, because if you talk about aesthetics, right, your abs are just like another muscle. You can train them, you can tear them down, you can make them more pronounced and have deeper cuts if you train them directly.
It's important to note. So like the more you train abs and the stronger your abs are, the higher body fat percentage you can have and still maintain a six pack.
Yeah. And that's, powerful as you go through, maybe there's a couple months in the year when you have to travel a little bit more, you have to be a little bit busier in your work. Well, you built that foundation, you have those strong core muscles that are pronounced. So you're still going to be able to maintain an aesthetic physique.
Have you seen, so this guy, Chris Williamson from Modern Wisdom, he's been having a bunch of bodybuilders on. He's been asking them if you could only do 10 exercises for the rest of your life, what are you doing?
That's dope.
What are you thinking? What's your 10?
10 exercises?
10 exercises. You can only do these for every.
For me personally, or
Yeah.
for anybody?
Let's do
for my physique, or for the general,
for yourself,
or for Gen Pop.
Let's do for yourself, and then after we'll go into how it would different for general population.
Okay. We would go backward sled drag.
Okay.
Great for the knees. Keep your knees strong and healthy. Builds the VMOs, the muscles around the knee joint. Like if you did that alone, you're never going to have knee problems. And like 2 biggest injuries are knees and back. So boom, right there, done. Second one would be low plank, just foundational core movement.
Low
that provides.
plank. What's the difference between? Is that when you're
on the forearms versus? Yeah,
on the forearms
it's much easier. High plank is easier. So low plank is going to give you core stability to be able to strengthen your back. Again, back energy. So those 2, boom, right there. I got stability in my knees and back. Now we go into aesthetics and other things that are foundational. Barbell squats. Super
back squat.
Functional. Yeah, barbell back squat, functional movement. You hit core, you hit quads, you hit glutes, you hit hamstrings. It's super, functional as well. So that'll keep you functional and healthy.
Elevated knees or no? I mean, not elevated knees. Elevated heels.
Elevated heels. I don't need that, but if you have poor ankle mobility, that'll help you to get into a deeper squat. So and
just kind of depends.
Yeah, and So I've used that when clients don't have good ankle mobility. So we got backward sled, we got low plank, we got barbell squat. I would say a pressing movement. I love actually really like an incline press instead of a flat press.
Dumbbell.
Yeah, dumbbell, because I find that it's better on the shoulder joints because of your plane of movement. It doesn't internally rotate your shoulders, and you're hitting more of the upper pectoral, which contributes to more aesthetics than the lower pec. Lower pec, you have the pec minor, pec major. Your upper pec is what makes your chest look bigger and more pronounced. A lot of people.
So you want to be hitting upper chest.
Yeah, so I like the upper chest because push-ups
is like a traditional bench
press. Yeah, and so I like the dumbbell incline press. Another one, pull-ups. Okay. Easily pull-ups, because right there you got back and biceps. Yep. And that's something you can do anywhere, any place. Next one would definitely be sprints. Boom, you literally hit every muscle in your body when you sprint. You're flexing everything when you're sprinting, right? That one right there, and that would knock out, cardio as well. Hanging leg raises for abs. Those 2 build sick. Like that's something I've always done because it hits a little bit more targeted of the lower abdominals, which gives you that fuller like 6-pack. I also love cable wood choppers.
I don't think I know what those are.
Yeah, so you're using a cable, you're getting like a single handle, and then you're rotating across your body.
Oh, okay. So you're gone.
You got 2 things working. You got obliques and you got rotational core strength.
Got you.
Right? So which helps you to stay functional, because one of the things that I don't want to be is like an unfunctional bodybuilder, and like I like to box as well, so I like to be able to be able to rotate through my core, and a lot of movements, sport activities require rotational core strength, and it builds the obliques. So we're at 7. I got 3 more for you.
Yeah. So, but we've already hit back. We've already hit chest. We've already hit legs pretty well.
Dips.
Dips.
Yeah. I would say weighted dips, like bodyweight dips. Bodyweight, dips are great, but if you do weighted dips, that's going to tremendously build your triceps and keep you super functional as well. Yeah. I mean, aesthetically speaking, if you're a guy, most men want to have a V taper. One of the exercises I really like is cable lateral raises for the medial delt, for the outside of your delt. Okay. That's going to create more of an aesthetic physique. So like that one right there, if you give me that, like I'm golden. And then last one I would say is like incline bench, dumbbell curls for the bicep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So we're not missing anything there.
Dude, you're not missing anything. And
maybe calves, but who needs calves?
I mean, sprints.
Sprints?
Bro,
Sprints are probably...
Sprints
that's
calves,
a great point. Yeah. Sprints are probably better for calves than calf raises are.
Bro, I'm telling you. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. So how So that was for you. How would that differ? What things would differ if it was general population? Because all those things,
Honestly,
one, sound functional, and
yeah.
two, sound
there's
pretty
a couple
applicable.
There's a couple aesthetic exercises in there. I would just probably throw in some exercises that just generally keep your muscle density high, but also have fun. Like maybe instead of the incline dumbbell curl, I'd have someone do like a TRX bicep curl, you know, because you're using body weight. You can do that anywhere in the world, you know.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Sweet, brother. Anything we haven't talked about today you want to talk about? Anything that's been on your mind or you've been thinking about?
You know, yeah, man, I want to talk about intention in regards to like actions and relationships. I would love to talk about that.
Let's do it.
So, you know, the other day I had somebody reach out to me, and it's, you know, I'm at coffee shops often working. I like to get out of the environment I'm in where I live, because I can focus more, because I go there to work. I don't go there to do anything else. I had a guy come up to me. He's like, "Hey man, I heard you talking about, you know, online fitness coaching, and, you know, wanted to, you know, talk to you a little bit." He's like, "I'm doing it as well." I was like, "Great." You know, so him and I chopped it up, and, you know, it's cool to meet other people doing something similar. Reached out to me on Instagram and was like, "Hey man, would love to, you know, talk to you about, you know, possible, you know, mentorship, if you could help me out. And also, you know, just want to pick your brain." So my idea, he's like, "Let's meet up." So I was like, cool. Like, you know, he wants to, you know, work with me in some capacity, or he wants, and then when we met, was like, "Hey man, I'm not going to be, you know, I don't want to pay you for anything." And was basically asking for help for free. You know what I mean? And to me, that came across extremely disingenuous, you know what I mean? And not providing value in a relationship. So I think one thing that I've learned over time is, like, if you are going to come to somebody and ask for help, there has to be some sort of exchange. It doesn't have to be monetary, but if you're just going to somebody without building a relationship first, like, it's so important that you're building value in that relationship before you do that.
Building value is everything.
Yeah.
It's such an important note, because especially for younger people, if they want to be somebody who's in the rooms with people doing the big deals, or like you were saying before, who are absolutely killing it, you got to be providing value in some regard. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. You could get creative with it. Like, there's so many ways if you think about it. Like, there's this guy, Dan Garner, he's Sean O'Malley's nutritionist.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah.
I wanted to have him on the pod. I wanted to, he was someone who's inspired me a ton and love his content.
Mm-hmm.
I chopped up one of his podcasts. I don't do short form editing. I just chopped up one of his podcasts. It's like, "Hey bro, saw that you haven't ever done any short form stuff. Clip this up for you." And then he DM'd me, followed me. We talked a bunch. Like, that is so simple.
Sick,
it's
that's
just
awesome.
Doing those things, and that's just a mundane example, but like getting creative of how you could help people.
Right.
And people check their DMs.
Yeah, dude. They do.
It's really cool. It's an important note that, like, there's ways to provide value, and there's ways to help the people that you want to get in front of. Yeah, and
I think that's like definitely a lesson that, like, younger people could learn. It's something I know. Like, I've one of my good friends is you know, best friends with Alex Ramosi, and I've hung out with Alex a couple times with my friend. You know, all of us together, like at his house watching UFC, and I haven't, you know, taken that as an opportunity to reach out to him. He gave me his number. You know, I'm sure I could go get a workout in with him sometime, but I'm like, okay, like, I don't want to just take this guy's time without giving, because then you're ruining the relationship up front. Because they how many people are asking this person for help? A lot. You know, and I just, and I think that's a lesson, and I've never had to learn that lesson, but I think a lot of people could learn that, because I've had you know, quite a few people reach out and ask me to get coffee that I don't know well, to pick my brain. I'm like, okay, imagine I did that with every single person. I just have people basically getting trade secrets from me without them providing any value up front. So I think it's a good lesson to learn in relationships specifically. Totally. You know, like you and I have, you know, we've had freestyle communication, you know, and we've been able to, like, relate to each other on a lot of ways. You know, I didn't say, "Hey man, I'd love to be on your podcast. Like, get me," like, the first time we met, like, we built a rapport with each other. Like, and that wasn't, you know, me trying to go, "I need to build a rapport to this guy to get on his podcast." It was just, it naturally came up, you know, and then we're like dude, this aligns. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an important note.
Yeah.
And like being value driven, it's like
Abundant. It's an abundance mindset.
Yeah,
Like it's an like, and that's one thing I live by, like attract, don't chase. Right. Like if the stars align and things are perfect and me and Alex Hormozy hang out and like, it makes sense for us to provide value to each other. Great. But outside of that, I'm not going to, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So,
oh man, I love that note. And I'm very glad you brought it up because it's something that like, even this weekend, like hanging out with some guys that are absolutely killing it.
right.
And not making it, not being needy.
Right.
It's like it's very unattractive.
Bro, it goes along. I'm telling you, it goes a long way. Like another example too, bro. Like I have another one of my good friends. He crushes it. Like he absolutely crushes it in the fitness space. He runs like a gym franchises, like multimillionaire. And I've reached out to him for questions as we've built a relationship over the last few years, and he helps me. And I got some tickets to UFC Apex, and I was able to get that through a client of mine who has a hookup. Like that's a whole nother value-driven relationship as well. And I reached out and I was like, hey man, I want to take you out. I want to kind of show you some appreciation. So like, boom, right there, strengthen the relationship, but I genuinely appreciate what he's done. So I'm not going to continue to take without giving something back.
Podcast has been such a interesting and unexpected way to help provide people with value. I didn't think about things in that way, but as I've seen it develop and grow, it's like, oh, this is something that's a win-win I could create for people.
Dude,
I get to create I get to have the conversations with people. They get to have the content and get to spread their message and clarify their own thoughts. And it's finding these ways to create win-win opportunities is everything for business and just for personal relationships.
Yeah, dude. I want to start a podcast.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah.
I think you should. What would be holding you back with that?
I think and this could be a limited belief, time, that I don't have enough time to do it. But you're proving me wrong with that because it doesn't take much time. I feel like once you have the right pieces set up, and then like I guess branding and messaging of the podcast, right? Like who would I want to talk to?
That's an interesting conversation. Yeah. It makes you really gain that clarity, like we were talking about before. When I sat down to do that, it was a bit terrifying. Not terrifying is the wrong word. It was a bit overwhelming, or I was just like, what do I even like? Who do I even want to talk? Like it was a crisis of not knowing what you want to, but doing it clarifies what you're genuinely curious about.
Yeah.
And what you just want to have, who are the people you want to have on because they have a big audience or whatever, versus like what's your genuine curiosity saying.
Right.
That has been incredibly beneficial to understanding you as a person and just a better sense of awareness.
Dude, that's sick. Yeah, and you're crushing it, dude. I like the people that you've had on the pod has been some crazy guests. So
I appreciate
good
bro.
work.
Vice
Seriously,
versa,
good work, bro.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna get you set up with pod. We gotta make it happen.
Let's go.
We got this beautiful studio here.
Yeah, I know,
too.
dude. We could definitely use this.
Yeah, absolutely incredible place here. Dude, thank you so much for doing this today. This was a ton of fun.
Appreciate you, bro.
Time absolutely flew by.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy when you're in the moment. It's like you don't realize, how much time you've been on there. But
absolutely. So, where should we send people?
So my Instagram is where I'm providing a ton of valuable content, in the fitness space, and where you can see a lot of the things that I'm doing with my clients and other business things that I post. So Michael Sheedy Fitness on Instagram.
Sweet.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you guys for listening. Catch you guys next time. Peace.